Let me start with a truth you have probably never heard before. The moment you try to be understood, you lose power. Watch closely. This is how attraction dies. A man meets a woman he likes. He starts asking questions to connect. He thinks he is building interest, but what he is really doing is putting her on a throne. Every question, what do you do? Where are you from? What kind of guys do you like? Silently says, you are the prize and I am the applicant. That is not connection. That is negotiation. And the moment a woman feels that you are trying to earn her approval, she has already lost respect for you, even if she smiles and plays along. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And while we are not talking about ruling kingdoms, this principle still applies to human psychology, especially attraction. When a woman meets a man who does not need her validation, she feels something she cannot explain. A mix of tension and fascination. He is not predictable. He does not seek approval. He naturally commands it. You see, asking too many questions is the language of insecurity. It shows her that you care too much about what she thinks. But when you speak like a man who already knows who he is, when you speak in statements, observations, and even silence, she starts chasing your approval instead. Because here is what no one tells you. Attraction does not grow from comfort. It grows from curiosity. And the less you reveal, the more she wants to understand you. When you speak less, she listens more. When you stop asking for her story, she starts trying to write herself into yours. That is how power shifts, silently and invisibly. Not by being nice, not by playing games, but by mastering the art of controlled mystery. Something even Niccolo Machiavelli would call the politics of desire. In this video, I will show you how to talk to women using 6 Machiavellian principles, strategies that completely flip the dynamic. By the end, you will understand how silence, composure, and presence can make a woman fall in love with your mystery, not your words. Stay until the end, because the last principle is something most men will never learn in their lifetime. 1. The power of silence. Control the frame. Silence is one of the most powerful tools a man can use, and it is also the rarest, because silence makes people uncomfortable, and when people are uncomfortable, they reveal themselves. Most men rush to fill silence when talking to a woman. They fear she will lose interest if the conversation is not constant, so they start asking questions, telling stories, performing for her attention. But the truth is, silence does not kill attraction. It creates it. When you stop trying to impress, you flip the frame. You become the one who listens with calm curiosity instead of nervous energy. You let her fill the space, not because you are passive, but because you are in control of the moment. Machiavelli understood this kind of power. He believed that people are drawn to strength, and strength is shown not through noise, but through restraint. In The Prince, he wrote that a ruler must know when to speak and when to stay silent, because those who reveal too much destroy their authority. The same applies in attraction. When you speak only when you have something to say, every word becomes valuable. It forces her to pay attention, to wonder what you are thinking. That mystery, that lack of predictable chatter, makes her lean in. Think about it. The loudest men in the room are often the weakest. They need to be heard in order to feel seen. But the man who can sit in silence, confident, composed, with no need to fill the air, instantly shifts the energy. His presence does the speaking. When you stop asking questions like, "So, what do you do?" and instead make an observation like, "You seem like someone who doesn't like small talk," you create a moment. It is not about the question anymore. It is about the dynamic. You are not trying to get to know her, you are letting her reveal herself. And here is the psychology behind it. Women are naturally drawn to uncertainty. When they cannot read a man easily, their mind stays engaged. Their emotions keep scanning, trying to interpret, trying to understand. This creates tension, and tension is the spark of attraction. So the next time you speak to a woman, practice controlled silence. Pause after she finishes talking. Hold eye contact. Smile slightly, but say nothing for a few seconds. Let her words linger. Let her feel your stillness, because in that stillness, something powerful happens. She starts to wonder about you. And when a woman wonders, she invests. The moment you no longer chase understanding, when you stop performing and start observing, you become the one with gravity. Remember, you cannot impress someone who is already impressed by your calm. That is why silence is not emptiness. It is dominance in disguise. 2. Never explain yourself. The Machiavellian confidence trap. One of the fastest ways to lose a woman's attraction, or anyone's respect, is to start explaining yourself too much. When a man constantly clarifies, defends, or justifies his every action, he is silently confessing something. He needs approval to feel secure. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In The Prince, he warned that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Now, in modern life, feared does not mean intimidating. It means respected. It means being a man whose confidence does not depend on how others interpret him. When you stop explaining, You send a silent but powerful message, I know who I am. And that unsettles people, especially those who expect you to bend, to please, to smooth over your edges just to be accepted. The average man does not realize this. When he is on a date and she challenges him, why did you say that? Or, do you really believe that? He panics. He softens his tone, explains, backtracks, and apologizes for having an opinion. He thinks he is being polite, but what he is really doing is teaching her that he can be shaken. The truth is, confidence does not always roar. Sometimes it is a calm refusal to explain yourself. Sometimes it is answering a test with a smile and silence. Sometimes it is saying, I don't owe you an explanation. Not with arrogance, but with certainty. This does not mean being rude or dismissive. It means standing on your words without trembling. If you said something you believe in, own it. If you made a choice, stand by it. Because every time you explain yourself out of fear, you lose a little bit of masculine presence, the quiet gravity that draws women in. The Machiavellian man understands human nature. People respect what they do not fully understand. When you are mysterious, you are interesting. When you are always clarifying, you become predictable. And predictable is boring. Look around. The most magnetic men you have met rarely justify themselves. They do not need to convince anyone that they are right. Their lives, their tone, their calmness, that is their argument. Psychologically, women interpret over-explaining as weakness. It signals insecurity. While men think they are showing honesty, women subconsciously read it as instability, a lack of emotional control. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, stop, take a breath, let the silence hang for a moment. If she truly wants to understand you, she will ask differently. A man who needs to be understood will always be controlled, but a man who is comfortable being misunderstood, he cannot be manipulated. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." The lesson: be calm like the fox, aware of how people pull at your emotions, but firm like the lion, never explaining yourself to please them. 3. Control her emotions, not her attention. Most men chase attention like beggars chasing coins, small, desperate, and grateful for whatever they can get. But attention is worthless without emotional control. Machiavelli would have told you that outright. In The Prince, he never once praised charm. He praised strategy. Because power is not about who looks at you. It is about who feels something when they do. That is where most men lose. They believe attraction is built on constant validation, compliments, jokes, endless texting, always being available. But in doing so, they become entertainers, not leaders. And when a woman feels she can read you like a book, you have already lost the mystery that made her look at you in the first place. Machiavelli understood something modern dating completely misses. People are addicted to emotional tension, not chaos, not drama. Tension, that delicate pull between comfort and unpredictability. It is what keeps a woman awake, thinking about you. She does not fall for the man who is always present. She falls for the man whose presence she cannot predict. Control her emotions, not her schedule. You do that through energy, tone, and timing. When she is distant, do not chase. When she is testing you, do not react. When she is emotional, do not try to fix her. Mirror her calmness. You see, a woman does not want you to solve her emotions. She wants to feel that yours can hold hers. That is power. The emotional dominance that Machiavelli would recognize instantly. In politics, he taught princes to manipulate the feelings of the crowd to maintain power. In relationships, the same principle applies. The man who shapes the emotional tone of the interaction holds the frame. The man who reacts to her tone loses it. Imagine this. She accuses you of being distant. The weak man defends himself. The Machiavellian man simply smiles and says, "Maybe you're just used to chaos." Then changes the topic. In that single move, he flips the emotional script. He remains calm while she feels stirred, intrigued, unsettled, yet drawn in. That is not manipulation, that is psychological intelligence. Because attraction is not about performance, it is about emotional gravity. You do not get it by being nice or available. You get it by being centered, grounded, unpredictable, in all the right ways. Machiavelli once said, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear." In modern relationships, love is built on fascination, and fascination is born from emotional control. So never try to outtalk a woman, outfeel her, never try to keep her attention. Control the emotional rhythm of your presence. When you can make her heart race without saying a word, you have already won, because every word after that becomes decoration. The real art of attraction is not found in pursuit. It is in presence, not in what you say, but in what she feels when you say nothing at all. 4. Never reveal all your intentions. Machiavelli once wrote, "Every prince must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge when necessary." He didn't mean to become cruel, he meant to become strategic, to play the game, not be played by it. And when it comes to women, this truth cuts deeper than any modern dating advice. Never reveal your full intentions. The moment you do, the game is over. Not because honesty is invaluable, but because predictability kills desire. Think about it. When you tell a woman exactly how you feel, exactly what you want, and exactly what you'll do next, she no longer needs to wonder. And the human mind is wired to crave uncertainty. It's uncertainty that fuels obsession, not clarity. That's why Machiavelli advised leaders to appear open while thinking in secret. It's not deceit, it's discipline. It's learning to move like water, calm on the surface, unfathomable beneath. Women respect men they can't fully read. They might say they want honesty, but deep down what they crave is mystery with integrity. The kind of man whose next move they can't predict, yet whose presence they can't resist. Most men make the mistake of confessing too much too soon. They over-explain their intentions. "I just want to be honest," they say, but in reality, they're seeking reassurance. They're exposing their strategy before they've even entered the battlefield. And when you expose your hand, in politics or in romance, you lose leverage. Machiavelli's world was built on perception. He understood that people don't follow truth. They follow powerful illusion. And illusion doesn't mean lies, it means timing. You reveal the truth when it benefits you, not when your emotions demand it. In relationships, this translates to emotional patience. Don't tell her everything you feel. Show her fragments. Let her imagination do the rest. Don't promise what you'll do next. Let your actions surprise her. There's an ancient saying, "The man who speaks little makes his words valuable." When you speak with purpose, she leans in. When you explain yourself endlessly, she leans out. Even in friendship, in business, in leadership, this rule never fails. Power lies in controlled disclosure. Reveal too much, and you hand people the blueprint to your mind. Reveal too little, and you become a mystery they can't stop trying to solve. Machiavelli understood that mystery sustains influence. When they can't predict you, they must respect you. When they can't read you, they must observe you. And that's where attraction deepens. Not through constant availability, but through subtle unpredictability. Remember, not every truth deserves to be told, and not every emotion deserves to be shown. Keep your cards close, your energy calm, and your intentions folded in silence. Because the man who reveals nothing commands everything. 5. Make her chase certainty. Every powerful man understands this paradox. If you want to be desired, you must make others uncertain, but never unsafe. There is a difference between confusion and intrigue. One repels, the other intoxicates. And Machiavelli, though he spoke to rulers and courts, understood this human truth better than most lovers ever will. He wrote, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. And in attraction, the line between both is razor thin. When a woman cannot fully read you, when she senses there is something about you she cannot decode, she begins to chase clarity. She starts wondering, what does he really think of me? Why can't I figure him out? Why does his silence feel louder than my words?" That is when you stop chasing her, and she starts chasing your certainty. But here is what weak men get wrong. They create chaos, not intrigue. They play mind games, not mastery. They confuse manipulation with mystery. The Stoics, who prized reason above impulse, would call this a loss of temperantia, the virtue of balance. Because real control is not about making someone insecure. It is about making them curious. A Machiavellian man, one grounded in stoic restraint, does not seek attention. He commands it through stillness. He is calm when others panic. He is selective with words. His silence is not emptiness, it is signal. And that silence drives a woman mad with wonder. Most men rush to explain themselves after every small misunderstanding. They write paragraphs, chase validation, or overcompensate with reassurance. But women do not fall for certainty. They chase it. The more you confirm her every question, the less valuable your attention becomes. When you remain grounded, observant, and unmoved by emotional storms, you stand out in a world of men who crumble at the first sign of disapproval. That calm detachment becomes magnetic. It makes her realize your peace is not negotiable. And that is when she begins to earn it. Machiavelli would say, power is preserved by appearing indispensable. In relationships, that means becoming the emotional center of gravity, not through control, but through composure. Your value grows in the space between what you say and what you do not. A man who always explains himself reveals insecurity. A man who lets silence carry weight shows confidence. And here is the paradox. When you stop trying to make her understand you, she will spend her energy trying to. She will read your tone, your pauses, your body language. Every glance becomes a question. Every word a clue. That is the psychology of attraction at its highest form. Make her chase emotional certainty while you remain still within your own. Remember, desire is born in uncertainty, but respect is born in control. When a man masters both, he does not chase. He attracts. He does not beg for attention. He becomes impossible to ignore. 6. The power of emotional control. There's a reason Machiavelli warned rulers to learn how not to be good. Not because he promoted cruelty, but because he understood something most people never will. Emotion is the easiest weapon to use against you. In relationships, the same rule applies. The man who cannot control his emotions will always be controlled by someone who can. Watch how quickly a woman loses respect for a man who argues, begs, or pleads from a place of emotional chaos. She doesn't lose love because he's emotional. She loses respect because he's predictable. His reactions become a map she can read, a switch she can press. Machiavelli believed that a powerful leader must appear compassionate but act with calculation. And today, that translates to emotional intelligence, knowing what to feel, but never letting emotion make the decision for you. A man who has mastered this does not get drawn into unnecessary fights. He doesn't try to win every argument. He listens, observes, and responds when it matters most. His calm becomes her storm. Not because he's cold, but because he's untouchable. Look around you. Most men are slaves to reaction. They explode when criticized. They chase when ignored. They apologize for things they didn't do, just to keep the peace. They confuse peacekeeping with peace itself. But the Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, would laugh at that weakness. Seneca once said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." And that's what Machiavellian attraction truly means. The art of mastering yourself before you attempt to influence anyone else. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings, it means you rule them. Like a king who governs his kingdom, you decide when anger serves purpose and when silence holds more power. You understand that reacting to everything makes you smaller, while restraint makes you mysterious. And mystery in human psychology is the seed of attraction. A woman cannot respect a man she can emotionally puppeteer, but she will crave a man she cannot shake. The one who listens calmly as she rants, the one who doesn't flinch when she tests his patience, the one who smiles when others would scream. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Machiavelli would call it controlling perception. The Stoics would call it governing the mind. But in truth, they meant the same thing. Power begins where reaction ends. Because the man who reacts gives power away. The man who observes keeps it. And the man who stays calm when others lose their minds, he becomes unforgettable. So if you want to know what truly separates a powerful man from a desperate one, remember this. It's not his money. It's not his looks. It's his ability to remain unmoved when the world, or a woman, tries to shake him. The final move of every master isn't aggression. It's stillness. Have you ever noticed that the most dangerous man in the room says the least? He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't chase approval. He doesn't try to prove his worth. Yet somehow, everyone, including the woman he's speaking to, leans in closer. That silence isn't weakness, it's control. Machiavelli once wrote that a wise man must appear virtuous, but remain untied to virtue when strategy demands it. In other words, he knew the truth modern men have forgotten. Charm is a weapon, and composure is the shield that protects it. When you talk to women from a place of control, when you lead the interaction instead of reacting to it, you stop playing the game everyone else is playing. You become the mystery. You become the challenge. Because while most men flood conversations with compliments, questions, and apologies, the man who knows his worth doesn't need to impress. He lets the silence do it for him. You see, attraction isn't born from words. It's born from presence. And presence can only come from stillness, the kind the Stoics spent their entire lives cultivating. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the core of what both Machiavelli and the Stoics understood. The man who controls himself controls every room he walks into. So the next time you speak to a woman, don't ask 100 questions trying to fill the air. Don't chase her validation through constant words. Instead, guide the energy. Be calm, be measured, speak when it adds weight, and let silence do the rest. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's pressure. And pressure, when controlled, is power. Women don't fall for the loudest man. They fall for the one who feels like he doesn't need anyone to fall for him. That's Machiavellian magnetism. That's Stoic composure. It's not arrogance. It's self-possession. In a world where men compete for attention, the rare one who doesn't becomes unforgettable. He's the man who listens more than he speaks. The one whose eyes don't beg, but measure. The one whose tone is calm even when tested. He doesn't dominate the room, he centers it. And that's the paradox of true power. When you stop chasing control, you become it. So remember, when you talk to a woman, you're not just talking to her. You're revealing how much you've mastered yourself. The real secret isn't in what you say. It's in the strength you can hold back.